Hi guys. We'll be taking a break from the regular programming on this channel to do something that's supposed to be a huge no-no. Yes, we're talking politics. We're going to be examining the up-and-coming election over the next 5 days, so get comfortable. Now, listen, I've been warned by many people to not touch this topic even with the 50-foot pole, but I completely disagree. I believe that this is a very important conversation that no one should be afraid to have. Ignoring it is part of the problem, which is part of the reason that inspired me to do this 5-part series. And right off the bat, no, my goal is not to tell you who to vote for. I don't care if you vote Republican, Democrat, Green Party, whatever. As long as you are confident that your vote promotes your vision for the future when the series is over, then I'll be happy. And with that, I strongly urge that you all stick with me this week. But if you must, come back next week for regular Self Science programming. And disclaimer, the truth is that there might be some stuff that you don't completely agree with, but I want to ask that you please keep an open mind with me throughout this series. The truth is that I have no agenda here. I'm not paid by either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. I'm just a guy who has ignored politics for a little too long and now ready to do some research and share my honest perspective with you all, regardless of whose side you're on. But without further ado, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because it's about to get bumpy as we prepare to take a look at what we do know about this election before you vote. Okay, let's talk about something different. As far back as the beginning of our electoral system, the presidential election has always had a problem with the influence of money in politics. The very first president, George Washington, spent most of his campaign money on giving out free alcohol for votes, which throughout time has evolved into presidential campaigns spending hundreds of millions on media ads and more. So, what exactly is money in politics? Well, here's a brief demonstration. A 2014 Princeton study shows that public opinion has little to no influence on laws being passed in the US. However, if those who contribute big money to politicians, for example, want a law to be passed or blocked, they have actual influence to make that happen with the promises and favors from the politicians that they contribute money to. For many years, people have cried to get money out of politics. Many people from all angles of the political spectrum have grown tired of this and are ready for something different, including our 39th US President, Jimmy Carter, as stated.
It violates the essence of what made America a great country in its political system. Now it's just an oligarchy with unlimited political bribery being the essence of getting the nominations for president or the elected president. And the same thing applies to governors and U.S. senators and Congress members. So now we've just seen a complete subversion of our political system as a payoff to major contributors who want and expect and sometimes get favors for themselves after the election's over.
That is why this election is getting record numbers of not only registered voters, but voting ballots being submitted as well. That is why this election was so special. This year's election was unprecedented on the basis that we had a candidate from both major parties standing up to money in politics. And that was Republicans' largely self-funded billionaire representative Donald Trump and Democrats' largely fundraised representative Bernie Sanders. The something different factor that both parties have been shouting for all these years. But, unfortunately, you aren't getting something different with this election. No matter what side you're on, this isn't the election that you deserve. Regardless if you believe that the DMC was rigged against Bernie Sanders or not, the general election is Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. So you're getting something different for one party, but something familiar for another party. One candidate who still receives millions in campaign donations for potential favors when elected, which makes this an election that is something a little different, but very familiar. Now, please remember this concept because it's going to be really important as we move forward into Before You Vote Part 3. What do you want? I'll see you guys on Part 3. So I'd like to ask, what do you want? As explained in part 2, by whatever variables that got us here, we have to accept that this is our reality. Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Now, by this point, I'm sure that you're very aware of the negative rhetoric for both candidates, Hillary Clinton.
If you are a private in the Army and you email yourself classified information, you will be kicked out. But if you are Hillary Clinton and you seek a promotion to commander-in-chief, you will not be.
She has a lot to hide. She doesn't want to talk to the press.
Hillary Clinton has two personas, the public persona and the private persona.
When she hit her head, she had to wear these prism glasses when she came out.
Right.
That is brain damage, and so that it's affecting her balance. Now, clearly, it hasn't affected her cognition, but tell us a little more about that.
But with Hillary Clinton, she said half of Donald Trump and my supporters were irredeemable, were a basket of deplorables. You can't lead people you loathe.
And Donald Trump.
He's an idiot. He's a national disaster. He's an embarrassment to this country. Doesn't do his homework. Doesn't care. Thinks he's gaming society. Doesn't pay his taxes.
This guy is far beyond a bad character with women.
So even though Donald Trump has offered very few specific economic plans, what little he has said is enough to know that he would be very bad for American workers and for American families.
Do we really want to give nuclear weapons to a man whose signature move is firing?
Firing things? But we can end this nightmare before it begins.
However, while it's cool to understand why you do not want either candidate to be the president of the United States, when it comes to the election, nothing is more important than how much do you agree with the candidate's plans of action. When you focus heavily on why you do not want a candidate to become the president of the United States, you ignore what you do want, but most importantly, what you will get. And to better put this into perspective, let's take a look at this clip, for example.
Donald Trump's message, his marketing pitch to the American people seems to be, don't vote for the candidate whose husband hurts women. Instead, vote for me, Donald Trump, because I hurt women.
That's not it.
What the heck is happening
All
here?
of Mrs. Clinton's paid ads are political correctness ads, pointing fingers at people. She doesn't like the way they talk. Whereas
her ads are his own words. She is quoting his own words, and he says they're nasty because his words are nasty. I'm sorry, but when does this stop?
Elect the next president to be the speech police.
Now, this clip perfectly exemplifies my point. A Clinton supporter focuses on why they do not want Donald Trump to be the president of the United States, while a Trump supporter focuses on why they do not want Hillary Clinton to be the president of the United States. But what do they want? Let's dig one layer deeper. The two arguments are essentially,
Donald Trump's message seems to be, don't vote for the candidate whose husband hurts women. Instead, vote for me, Donald Trump, because I hurt women.
Donald Trump is a hypocrite.
Nasty, I'm sorry, but when does this stop?
Elect the next president to be the speech police.
And Hillary Clinton is weak and easily offended. Still focusing on what I don't want, right? Let's say that I don't want someone who is a hypocrite. Thus, I vote for Clinton. Does that mean that I won't get a president who's a hypocrite? Well...
As you look across the country, the deck is still stacked in favor of those already at the top. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong when CEOs make 300 times more than the typical worker.
You made 3 speeches for Goldman Sachs. You were paid $675,000 for 3 speeches.
Was that a mistake? I mean, was that a bad error in judgment?
Look, I made speeches to lots of groups. I told them what I thought. I answered questions.
But did you have to be paid $675,000?
Well, I don't know. That's what they offered. So, you know, every Secretary of State that I know has done that.
Yeah, not exactly. And what about on the other end? Would I not get someone who's weak and easily offended by voting for Trump?
Now imagine your children and your grandchildren acting the way he does. Would you welcome that? Watch, by the way, how he responds to my speech today.
Now, I heard, and I saw just a little bit of it, but I heard that Mitt Romney made a fairly long speech. Honestly, I thought I'll just address it quickly because it's irrelevant. Look, Mitt is a failed candidate. He failed. When I heard he was running again, and I wasn't sure I was going to be running, what are you saying? They said, you said you have a store that's worth more than Mitt. So let's say Mitt's worth $150 or $200 million. You know, Romney talks about taxes, right? Why isn't he doing his taxes? And nobody thanked me for the carpet. Hey, maybe I can send Mitt a bill for carpet ruined, right?
Again, not exactly. So you see, focusing on what you don't want is a huge waste of time. It's counterintuitive, and I hope that I've convinced you by putting that into perspective, because now I want to turn it on to you and ask, what do you want? Now, look, the truth is that it's next to impossible for me to cover all plans, promises, and statements in depth and really analytically without adding my own bias for my personal vision for the future. And that is why I can't stress enough that I encourage you all to engage in healthy conversations with your friends and family to help you evaluate which candidate has more of what do you want for the future in mind. When voting this election, or any election really, focus on and know, what do you want? For what will be important to us over the next 4 to 8 years is on the line. So please, on your own, do some extra figuring out on what do you want before you vote. And to help you out, I've made a PDF to help give you some food for thought, as well as listed many sources with additional information to explore. Visit sefstuff.com/beforeyouvote, which will also help for part 4. Your wants have weights. So, now that you hopefully know what do you want, it's important to understand that your wants have weights. So, what are these want weights? Well, for example, you might prefer candidate 1's wants on foreign policy over candidate 2's, and candidate 2's wants on energy over candidate 1's. But it's very important to understand that every want has its own weight. Candidate 1's wants on foreign policy, even if you wanted to, might have a lot more weight than candidate 2's wants on foreign policy in either the positive or negative direction, which could involve many variables to calculate. It might actually give you a few dozen headaches trying to solve it, if even possible. But trying to determine the weight of your wants is critical. And as much as I love programming and solving equations, I can't go any deeper than that, because that would require me to share a lot of bias. And the point of this series is for you to be able to choose for yourself. So, I'm sorry, but I'm leaving it up to you to calculate the weight of your wants. However, I will cover weights on a more general level. Act 1. The weight of not voting at all. First off, if you're deciding to surrender your right to vote, surrender your right to contribute to the future, can I ask you, are you okay with someone else choosing your access to education and healthcare? Are you okay with someone else choosing how law enforcement will interact with you? What about you and your loved ones' access to Social Security? The jobs that you have access to, the amount that you pay from that job, who you can and cannot marry, and the list goes on. If you're not okay with someone else choosing all those things for you and more, then I strongly urge that you figure out what it is that you want. Then let your voice be heard by voting for whoever has your vision for the future most in mind. Use sefstuff.com/beforeyouvote if you need a little assistance. However, if you are okay with someone else choosing all of that for you, then I guess by all means, surrender your voice. But please, if the future doesn't shape out to be how you'd like it, please continue your practice of surrendering your voice. Now, listen, I understand that some people believe that my vote doesn't matter, but that's largely false. Sure, history has shown that there are some devious acts every once in a while, but your vote does matter. And think about this. Acting under the pretense that your vote does not matter is exactly what those who are trying to undermine your vote want. They want for you to not vote to make it easier for them to get what they want. So please ask yourself, do you really want to play into their hands? And I also understand the other reasoning. Both candidates are equally wicked and vile, so what's the point? But the truth is, even if you don't vote, your access to education, healthcare, jobs, social security, law enforcement interactions, along with everything else will still be impacted. I know it's tough, but please put some thought into it. Vote third party if you really don't like both. Just please exercise your right to vote. Act 2. The weight of voting third party. So, what happens if you calculate the weight of all wants, and the weight of both candidates' wants are terribly in the negative? Well, that's where third parties come in. Don't ever let someone tell you that there's something wrong with wanting to vote third party. The fact is that we do not have a two-party electoral system. In fact, there are many parties: Democratic Party, Republican Party, Independent Party, Libertarian Party, Green Party, Constitutional Party, Reform Party, Socialist Party, and many more parties, which is its own video for another day. But for me to exclude these other candidates would be, simply put, ignorant. However, if you are voting third party, your biggest concern is probably, is voting for a third party a throwaway vote? This is where the weight of all wants come back in. It's extremely important to not only weigh your wants between candidates, but also weighing your wants with other data, stats, and facts. Why do I want to vote for a third party candidate? How likely is it for a third party candidate to win? Do I want the third party candidate to win? Would my vote be better served voting for a major party candidate that also has my wants in mind? Etc, etc, etc. All questions that I will not, and rightfully cannot, answer for you. That's an inner conversation that you must have with yourself. But I can help you out with this fact. Based on the last 3 elections, a Cornell study shows that third parties often get less than 50% of what they actually poll. And as I'm writing this video, Gary Johnson is polling at 5% and Jill Stein is polling at 2%. Now, not saying that the third parties will do the same this election. I just don't think that this is an election possible for a third party to turn around and poll more than 40% for the general election to beat Hillary Clinton, who is currently leading at about 47%. If that is, your hopes for voting third party is for them to win. But I do believe that due to the awareness of this election, the chances for a third party winning in future elections has increased. So, if you know what you want, and you weighed your wants, and your internal verdict is to vote third party, then by all means, I encourage you to vote third party. Either way, your voice will be heard. Maybe not as quick as others would like, but the increase in third party support will influence others in the future when looking back. Act 3. The weight of voting Donald Trump. If you're voting for Donny Boy, it's really important to understand that unlike Clinton's want to run business as usual, Donald Trump's wants have promises that challenge a lot of traditional practices in the US on immigration, abortion, healthcare, space, foreign policy, trade, gay marriage, and the list goes on. So if you're voting for Donald Trump, you have a little extra homework than usual due to the novelty of it all. You must really calculate the weight of all these wants in depth, because once changed, it might be difficult or maybe even impossible to unchange, be it for the better or worse. But if you know what you want, and Donald Trump has a similar vision to that want, and you've weighted all the wants to not only other candidates, but its possible implications, the want's likelihood, etc., etc., then by all means, I encourage you to vote for Donald Trump. Act 4. The weight of voting Hillary Clinton. If you're voting for Hill Dog, it's really important that you understand that Hillary Clinton has been in politics for more than 30 years. So she has seen and learned many things, some of which that you are aware of, and others of which that you have no idea about, be it both good stuff and bad stuff. Unlike Donald Trump's want to change a lot of traditions, not much is changing with Hillary Clinton. She wants to run business as usual with the want of some improvements. When voting for Hillary, you must not only weigh all the wants to other candidates, but also to wants' likelihood, possible implications, and of course, to 30 plus years of political history. Like someone with Hillary Clinton's experience, the empirical data is there. The question is, how will you weigh it? But if you know what you want, and Hillary Clinton has a similar vision to that want, and you've weighed all the wants with as many variables as possible, then by all means, I encourage you to vote for Hillary Clinton. Act 5. Finn. And that's pretty much it, folks. It wasn't that brutal, right? To quickly recap, before you vote, know that this election was so close to being something different, which in itself is a variable to be considered for all of your weights. And despite the majority of media coverage of ad hominem attacks on all candidates, understand and know, what do you want? But don't just understand what do you want on the surface level, also understand and know the weight of your wants as well. Do the best you can to identify these weights by having healthy conversations about politics with your friends and family, doing research, and never stop asking questions. For all of these things are how we make sure that every election after this one will be something different. That's something different that we the people actually want. I'll see you guys on part 5, where we get into my personal vision. Oh boy. Transparency. So, my personal vision. I'm doing this because I believe that transparency is very important. I'm gonna be as honest as possible with you guys. Today's video is as raw, it's super raw, no script, no music. And it's just, let's just talk about my vision for the future, who I'm voting for, and this entire series and everything. Let's do it. So I have some talking points. It's not really a script though. So at the moment, as of today is November 5th, I think, 2016. I'm undecided on who I'm voting for. I think I might be voting third party. However, the problem is that I know nothing about the third party candidates at the moment. So there's a chance I might be voting dun Hillary Clinton. But before we get more into that, let's talk about what I want, right? I did a whole series about what do you want. Let's talk about what do I want. So what I want, my vision for the future. I want to, everything that encapsulates us moving forward as a species, that is what I want. So I want to advance space, our space programs more. I want to increase education, maybe even like a whole educational reform, maybe, I don't know. I want to invest more in energy. It doesn't have to be renewable energies, but I want us to decrease our CO2 emissions. That's what I want. So whatever energy that requires, it doesn't have to be renewable. Again, I don't know everything about CO2 emissions energy alternatives yet, but I know that renewables is a big one that I definitely would endorse. What I want is, it's not a want, but I would love this if we invested more in our infrastructure here in the United States. There's a lot of things that are kind of outdated, or if they're not outdated, they've been a problem for many, many years, and we haven't came up with any solutions. For example, traffic. Right? Currently in some places, I know here in California, you can sit in traffic for an hour or two. And the solutions, I know they exist out there. It's just that we aren't pursuing those solutions to fix things like traffic. And, the list goes on to a bunch of different infrastructure that we can improve. I would love that, but I know that requests like that is something that's super low on the budget poll. So, but I would love that. If we can somehow get to that point, I'd love that. Another thing that I want, peace. I really want peace with all nations in the world. I know that it sounds good on paper, but it's a little harder to achieve than just saying I want peace. But definitely peace in the Middle East, peace with Russia, even North Korea. Like I would love to get peace with them because we're all humans on the same planet, You know, we need to be focusing on making this planet, which is our real home. You know, our home isn't continents or states or cities. Our home is this planet, you know, this vessel. And peace is definitely something that I want. I want women to have the rights to do whatever they want with their bodies. I don't see why they shouldn't have the rights to do. Like, I know the whole abortion thing it's a very touchy topic. It's very like sentimental topic because you know, death, you're killing a baby and all this other stuff. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot that goes into it. You know, I think it's beyond the scope for this video. But ultimately, I do want women to be able to choose, like, if they want to have this kid or not. Because in some cases, you know, people just they're just not ready for that in many different ways. Like, the life that they could be able to give their child may not be what they could give them at that point. It's a very touchy topic. However, I don't think that it's right to tell someone that they can't make such a decision, especially as hard as that probably is. But I think that they should have the right to do whatever they want legally with their bodies. Another thing that I want is I want anyone of any alignment, sexual alignment, to marry whoever they want. You know, it's crazy to me that we live in America, land of the free, the United States rather. We're fighting against the right to marry whoever you want, but it's like land of the free is in our tagline, it's in our slogan. So why are you fighting to take away freedoms? I don't like that point. I don't understand. I don't understand the opposite position whatsoever. The common thing is that it's disgusting, but it's like, that's your opinion, man. I don't know. That's what I want. That though, I want to undergo some law enforcement reform. In the past few years, things have been looking pretty bad. I don't know, you know, a popular argument is that because of the increase of social media, it's now being brought to light more often. I don't know. I just know that it is really bad these days. And, you know, I take that back. I don't know. I think that I just know that I want some law enforcement reform some way, somehow. That's something I haven't fully thought about. So I'm gonna recant some of the stuff that I said and just say hold off, because I don't really know what I want there. I for sure want law enforcement. That's not a question. I'm not running around saying like F the police and all this and that, because law enforcement is very important. However, I think that I think we need to change some stuff up. I just don't know what yet. So disregard that for now. I really want the United States military to calm down with a lot of stuff that we're doing overseas. And, you know, there are a lot of endeavors and things that we do overseas, and we the people don't even know. And it's difficult for us to know because politicians, they'll lie to us about some of the stuff they're doing overseas, be it for political reasons or be it for humanitarian reasons. And that really bothers me. That is probably one of the biggest things for my wants is I want our military to calm down. Like, take a chill pill, take a back seat, calm down. Yeah, it's a pretty effed up situation. And there's a lot of history that goes into this topic. There's a lot of different variables on the micro and macro level. Yeah, I really want that. But out of all those wants, I think that the one that carries the biggest weight is peace. I think I want peace. Maybe the want for peace in the military to calm down is kind of the same, maybe, but those probably hold the most weight of them all. For that same exact reason is why I don't know if I can vote for Hillary Clinton. My wants align with her wants on a national level. Like, everything that she wants for our nation inside, perfect. It's spot on, almost, just about spot on. Obviously, there's a few things that I disagree with her on the nation front, but her foreign wants are like almost polar opposite to my foreign wants. Some of the stuff she wants is very scary, and that's probably why I can't vote for her. Yeah, and as I said, I think that the biggest weight of them all is my want for peace and my want for our military to chill out. Yeah, it's a very deep topic with lots of variables and whatnot, and it's interesting beyond the scope of this video. But that's something that I would encourage you to look into if you are not sure what I'm talking about. But make sure that you find sources that aren't biased, which was the hardest thing with creating this series, was doing the research. 9 times out of 10, when you find some sort of source or something, or you find some sort of article rather, there will be either one of two approaches that you'll find. It'll either be someone that's pro this person or anti this person. It was really hard to find that middle ground. And oftentimes I had to extract what was actual like facts and what was actual just like, ad hominem attacks or just like trying to slander or discredit this person. Fun times. To address all the people that watch my show and are fans of Donald Trump or voting for him, listen, this is what you really need to understand. If you're voting for Donald Trump, I don't hate you. I don't hate you. I don't hate Donald Trump even. All that means is that you and I and him and whoever else, we all have different life experiences. We have all experienced different things growing up to the point that we're at now. Which has crafted a different worldview. We view the world differently. And there's nothing wrong with that, I believe. I truly do believe that there's nothing wrong with that. It's just some of the stuff that he has said and done, I just can't endorse. As I said, what I want is to progress forward as a species. And his stance on abortion, I feel like that's going backwards. His stance on gay marriage, I feel like it's going backwards. He doesn't really have a strong stance on space, but his kind of like, whatever space, that's to me is going backwards. I really do. I like a lot of what he says about foreign policy. Like, I think that his wants with foreign policy is more aligned with my wants in opposition to Hillary Clinton. However, I don't know if that's enough for me to vote for him. And not to mention, speaking on what I was talking about on part 4 of Before You Vote is the whole weights of everything, right? And one of the biggest weights that is going into making my decision is how likely is this want? How likely is this promise to happen? How much do I believe that they can deliver on this? And Hillary Clinton, at least on her, I'll say her entire wants, they're pretty possible from the research that I found, just because she's been in the Obama administration, so pretty much everything's already set up for her. All she has to do is move in and just move a couple things around the room, and she can make a lot of that stuff happen, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, as I said, with their foreign policy wants. And Trump, he wants to change a lot of traditions, which is one of the reasons why I like him. As stated in part 2, that's what I give him credit for. He's something different. I believe that the whole money in politics is a huge issue, and we really need to, as a nation, start working on getting money out of politics, because money should not be in politics, period. Though nature might always try and ordain that, I think that, I don't know, maybe it's impossible. Maybe that's just the way that nature has things set up. But I think that if we can make some efforts to get money out of politics, we definitely should, because there's no reason that our government should be able to be bought as it has been over the last however many years. But as I was saying, so yeah, I really respect Donald Trump for being something different. I really just wish that it was Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders. That would have been a historical election race, in my opinion. Because think about it. Just think about it, right? If it was Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders, check out these key words that Trump would have never been able to say. I have them listed somewhere on the screen because I'm probably going to look up a couple more, but he would never been able to say emails. He would never been able to say corrupt. He would never been able to say scandal. None of those keywords that he used for Hillary Clinton over and over and over. He would have to come up with a new batch of stuff. It would have been a lot more exciting, I think. Dude, something different almost happened this year. Yeah, I think that's it for my vision. I hope that you know what my vision is for the future and why I might be voting Hillary Clinton. When I'm done weighing everything, I feel like I don't know if I can trust her, and I don't know if, I think that her foreign policy wants are probably way too overboard for me. I want peace, man. I want peace. But anyways, that's currently where I'm at. My next step is to look into the third-party candidates to see what they're talking about. It's just I haven't had much time working on this series. I'm so tired. I can't wait to sleep. But I hope you guys enjoyed this series for what it was. I hope it helped you out in some sort of way. And guys, let's talk more politics. Let's break this whole don't talk politics thing that we have, this stigma. As I said, it's really difficult to calculate the weights of your wants with others' wants and all the wants and all that stuff. But the more that we talk about politics, the easier it becomes. Plain and simple. So let's break this stigma. Let's get our country back. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm getting old. So yeah, guys, that is where I stand. That is my vision for the future. Any candidate that, is aligned with my wants, they have a better chance of getting my vote. And follow me on Twitter. If you want to come call me a shrill for possibly voting for Hillary, I welcome it. Come on. Come follow me on Twitter at Steph Stuff. We can converse about politics. We can converse about space. We can converse about anything under the moon. I am down to converse with you guys. Just know that I don't hate you if you're voting for Trump. And yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this series. Regular videos are back next week. Time for bed.